The morning rain fell slowly and covered the city in gray light. Water moved along the roads and filled the broken spaces near the sidewalks. People walked quickly with heads down and hands tight around umbrellas. No one wanted to stop or look around for too long. Near an old bus stop stood a stray dog. She was thin and weak and her fur was wet and tangled. Her ribs showed through her skin and her legs shook from cold. She did not bark or chase anyone. She only cried in a low broken sound that carried through the rain. Her eyes were wide and alert and full of fear. She kept looking toward a narrow alley beside the bus stop. Then she turned her head back toward the street again. She cried each time she looked back at the alley. It was clear she was waiting for something or someone. People passed by her without stopping. Some looked at her for a second and then walked away. Some stepped aside to avoid her. A few showed signs of discomfort and pity. No one stopped to help. Inside the alley there was darkness and standing water. Old boxes and broken wood were piled near the wall. The rainwater slowly flowed between them. From deep inside came a weak sound that could barely be heard. The stray dog heard it clearly and cried louder. She moved a few steps toward the alley and stopped. Her body trembled as she turned back toward the road. Her eyes searched every passing face. She cried again and again as if begging for attention. Still no one stopped. A man named Arif walked past holding a bag on his shoulder. He was returning from work and felt tired and cold. His shoes were wet and his shirt clung to his back. He wanted to reach home and rest. At first he walked past the dog without noticing her. Then he heard the cry. The sound made him slow his steps. It was not loud, but it carried pain and fear. He turned his head and saw the dog standing near the bus stop. Their eyes met for a brief moment. Arif stopped walking. Something about the dog made him pause. She did not act wild or aggressive. She looked helpless and desperate. Her eyes seemed to ask for help. The dog slowly walked toward Arif. She limped slightly as she moved closer. Her tail stayed low and still. She cried again and gently touched his leg with her nose. Arif looked down at her in surprise. He had seen many stray animals before. He often felt bad but never stopped. This time his body refused to move away. The dog softly pulled at his pant leg with her teeth. She did not hurt him at all. People nearby slowed down and watched the scene. Some whispered to each other. Some shook their heads and walked away. The rain continued to fall steadily. The dog released Arif's pant leg and turned toward the alley. She walked a few steps and stopped. She looked back at Arif and cried again. Her eyes were wide and filled with fear. She waited and did not move. Arif felt his heart beat faster. He followed her gaze toward the alley. The place looked dark and unpleasant. Water covered the ground and trash lay everywhere. Arif hesitated and looked around. The dog cried louder as if urging him to hurry. Arif took a deep breath and stepped forward. The dog immediately began walking toward the alley. She moved faster now and did not limp. She kept glancing back to make sure he followed. Arif followed carefully behind her. The alley felt cold and narrow. Water dripped from pipes above them. The sound echoed softly around the walls. The dog led Arif to a corner filled with old boards and torn cloth. She stopped there and began to scratch the ground. Her cries became short and sharp. Her body shook as she dug with her paws. Arif knelt down beside her and listened. At first he heard nothing. Then a faint sound reached his ears. The sound was weak and small. It came from beneath the pile of debris. Arif's heart tightened with worry. He slowly moved one of the boards aside. The dog cried louder and pressed close to him. Arif moved another piece of wood. The faint sound grew clearer. It was the cry of a puppy. The dog licked Arif's hands in panic and hope. She trusted him fully. Under the cloth lay a tiny puppy. Its body was covered in mud and rainwater. It shook and barely moved. One of its legs was trapped under a heavy board. The puppy cried weakly and then fell silent. The mother dog cried loudly and licked the puppy again and again. Her body trembled with fear and worry. She looked at Arif as if begging him to hurry. Arif felt a deep sadness rise inside him. He knew he had to act quickly. He carefully lifted the heavy board. The puppy let out a small sound. Arif gently freed the trapped leg. He wrapped the puppy in his jacket to keep it warm. The mother dog licked his hands and the puppy non-stop. By now people had gathered near the alley entrance. Some watched in silence. Some covered their mouths in shock. A woman ran to bring a dry cloth. Another person used a phone to call for help. The rain continued to fall around them. Arif held the puppy close to his chest. The mother dog stayed pressed against him. Her crying slowly stopped. She rested her head near her pup. For the first time she looked calm. Her eyes stayed on the puppy. She did not pull or cry anymore. She believed help had arrived. The alley felt quiet despite the rain. Arif looked at the people standing nearby. He felt nervous but steady. He knew this moment would change something. The dog had trusted a stranger. Arif knew he could not walk away now. The rain continued to fall as people gathered closer to the alley. Water flowed around their shoes and soaked the ground beneath them. No one spoke loudly and the moment felt heavy and quiet. All eyes stayed on Arif and the two dogs beside him. Arif held the small puppy inside his jacket. He pressed the cloth close to keep the puppy warm. The puppy moved slightly and made a weak sound. The mother dog lifted her head at once. Her eyes followed every breath the puppy took. She stayed very close to Arif. Her body touched his leg as if she needed to feel him there. She did not show fear toward the people around her. Her only concern was her puppy. Her trust was clear and strong. A woman stepped forward holding a dry towel. She spoke softly so the dogs would not feel afraid. Arif nodded and gently placed the towel around the puppy. The puppy shifted slightly and stayed still. The mother dog licked the towel and the puppy again. Another man moved closer and looked at the trapped leg. He spoke quietly and said the leg looked injured but not broken. Arif listened carefully and felt some relief. The puppy was alive and breathing. That was what mattered most. Someone made a phone call asking for help. The rain made the signal weak, but the call went through. They said help would arrive soon. The crowd waited patiently. No one complained about the rain or the wait. Arif stayed kneeling on the wet ground. His legs felt numb but he did not move. The mother dog rested her head against his knee. Her breathing slowly became calmer. She no longer cried or shook. People began talking quietly among themselves. Some shared stories of stray animals they had seen before. Some said they never expected to see something like this. Others wiped their eyes without saying a word. The scene touched everyone in a quiet way. The puppy opened its eyes slightly. It made a soft sound and moved its head. The mother dog lifted her head quickly. She licked the puppy's face gently. Her tail moved slowly for the first time. Arif felt his chest tighten with emotion. He had not planned to stop that day. He had not planned to get involved. Yet he felt like this moment was meant to happen. He stayed focused on the puppy. The sound of footsteps approached from the street. An animal helper arrived holding a small bag. She moved carefully and spoke in a calm voice. She knelt beside Arif and examined the puppy. The mother dog watched closely but did not react with fear. The helper touched the puppy gently and checked the injured leg. She nodded slowly and said the puppy would survive. She explained the puppy needed warmth and food. The mother dog listened as if she understood every word. Arif felt a wave of relief pass through him. The helper asked Arif if he could help carry them. Arif nodded without hesitation. He carefully stood up while holding the puppy. The mother dog stood beside him and stayed close. She refused to move away from her pup. People stepped aside to clear a path. Some offered help and kind words. Others simply watched in silence. The rain began to slow slightly. The alley felt brighter than before. Arif walked carefully toward the street. The mother dog followed closely at his side. She never once tried to run away. Her trust remained strong. She believed Arif would protect them. A small vehicle stopped nearby. The helper opened the door and placed a blanket inside. Arif gently placed the puppy on the blanket. The mother dog jumped inside immediately. She curled around her puppy protectively. Arif stepped back and looked at them. His jacket was wet and muddy. His hands shook slightly from the cold. Yet his heart felt warmer than it had in a long time. The helper thanked him quietly. People around them began to slowly leave. Some smiled softly at Arif. Some nodded with respect. The moment felt complete. The rain almost stopped. The vehicle drove away slowly. Arif watched until it turned the corner. He felt a strange emptiness and relief together. The alley was quiet again. Only the sound of dripping water remained. Arif stood there for a moment longer. He thought about the mother dog's eyes. He thought about her courage and trust. He wondered what would happen next. He felt sure this was not the end. As Arif walked away, the rain finally stopped. The city lights reflected on the wet road. He felt tired but peaceful. His steps felt lighter than before. He did not know yet that his life had already changed. The next morning the sky looked clearer and the air felt fresh. Sunlight reflected off the wet streets from the night before. Arif woke up early, but his mind was not calm. He kept thinking about the stray dog and her puppy. The memory of her eyes stayed with him. He went through his morning routine slowly. He ate little and drank his tea without focus. His phone lay on the table beside him. He kept checking it again and again. He hoped for some kind of update. After some time his phone rang softly. It was the animal helper from the night before. She spoke kindly and shared good news. The puppy had survived the night and was stable. The mother dog had not left the puppy even once. Arif felt relief wash over him. His shoulders relaxed for the first time. He thanked the helper many times. She told him he could visit if he wanted. Arif agreed without hesitation. Later that day Arif reached the small animal care place. It was simple and clean and quiet. Soft sounds filled the air. The helper led him inside gently. Arif felt nervous and hopeful at the same time. The mother dog saw him first. Her ears lifted and her eyes widened. She stood up slowly and moved toward him. Her tail moved carefully from side to side. She remembered him clearly. She did not bark or jump. She walked close and touched his leg with her nose. Her body language showed trust and relief. Arif bent down slowly. He spoke to her in a calm voice. The puppy lay nearby wrapped in a clean cloth. Its breathing was steady and calm. Its injured leg was supported and protected. The puppy opened its eyes slightly. It made a soft sound when Arif moved closer. The mother dog watched closely. She stayed between Arif and the puppy at first. Then she relaxed and stepped aside. She allowed him to see the puppy clearly. That small action showed deep trust. Arif felt his chest tighten again. He had never experienced something like this before. This dog had trusted him during her worst moment. Now she trusted him again. The bond felt strong and unexpected. The helper explained the next steps. The puppy would need time to heal. The mother dog needed food and rest. They both needed a safe place. The helper looked at Arif carefully. She asked if he had ever thought about helping them further. Arif stayed silent for a moment. He looked at the mother dog and the puppy. He thought about his empty apartment. He thought about the night in the alley. He remembered how close he had come to walking away. He remembered the sound of the cry. He remembered the trust in her eyes. His decision slowly became clear. He nodded quietly. Arif said he wanted to help if possible. The helper smiled gently. She said that choice would change many things. She explained the responsibility clearly. Arif listened carefully and accepted it fully. Over the next few days, Arif visited often. Each visit strengthened the bond. The mother dog began to relax around him. The puppy slowly grew stronger. Small improvements brought great joy. The mother dog followed Arif whenever he arrived. She stayed close and watched his movements. She trusted his voice and presence. She rested when he was nearby. Her fear slowly faded away. Arif learned more about caring for them. He listened to advice and followed instructions. He prepared his home step by step. He bought simple items with care. He felt nervous but determined. One evening the helper told him the time had come. The puppy was strong enough to leave. The mother dog was calm and healthy. They could go home with him. Arif felt both excited and afraid. He arrived with a clean blanket and gentle steps. The mother dog watched him closely. She sensed change in the air. The puppy rested quietly beside her. The helper smiled and opened the gate. The mother dog stepped out slowly. She looked around carefully. She stayed close to the puppy. Arif stayed low and calm. He allowed her to move at her own pace. When she reached him, she stopped. She looked into his eyes. She placed her head against his leg. That simple action held deep meaning. Arif felt tears in his eyes. The ride home was quiet and gentle. The puppy slept most of the way. The mother dog stayed alert but calm. She watched Arif through the mirror. She trusted the journey. When they reached the apartment, Arif moved slowly. He opened the door and stepped aside. The mother dog entered carefully. She sniffed the floor and walls. She stayed close to the puppy. The apartment felt different immediately. The silence was replaced with soft movement. The air felt warmer and alive. Arif sat on the floor nearby. He did not rush anything. The mother dog lay down beside the puppy. She watched Arif quietly. Her eyes no longer showed fear. They showed peace and safety. She had found a place to rest. That night Arif lay awake for a long time. He listened to their soft breathing. He felt responsibility settle in his heart. He also felt happiness he had never known. A new chapter had begun for all of them. The morning light entered the apartment softly and filled the room with warmth. Arif woke up slowly and listened to the quiet sounds around him. He heard gentle breathing near the floor. He sat up and looked toward the corner of the room. The mother dog and her puppy were sleeping peacefully. The puppy lay curled close to its mother. Its small body moved with each calm breath. The injured leg rested carefully at its side. The mother dog kept her head lifted slightly. She watched Arif as soon as he moved. Her eyes showed no fear now. They showed comfort and trust. She did not move or growl. She simply watched him quietly. Arif smiled softly and spoke her name. He had chosen a simple name for her. He called her Noor because she brought light into his life. The puppy also had a name now. Arif called him Sammy because it felt right. Both names felt natural and warm. Arif stood up slowly and went to prepare food. He moved carefully so he would not scare them. He placed bowls on the floor with fresh food and water. The smell filled the room gently. Noor lifted her head and stood up. She walked slowly toward the bowl. She looked back at Sammy before eating. She waited until Arif placed the bowl closer. She ate calmly and without fear. Sammy watched from the blanket quietly. After eating, Noor returned to her puppy. She lay beside him and rested her head near his body. Arif sat on the floor nearby. He wanted them to feel safe. He did not rush or force anything. Days passed slowly and peacefully. Arif adjusted his routine around them. Morning walks became part of his life. He learned their habits and needs. The apartment changed with their presence. Noor slowly grew stronger each day. Her fur became cleaner and softer. Her body no longer shook with fear. She explored the apartment carefully. She always returned to Sammy quickly. Sammy healed slowly and steadily. His small steps became stronger. He learned to walk without pain. He followed Noor everywhere. He trusted Arif completely. Neighbors began to notice the change. They saw Arif walking with the dogs. They smiled and asked questions. Some shared kind words and support. The story spread quietly among them. One evening Arif sat by the window. The city lights reflected outside. Noor lay beside him with Sammy asleep nearby. The rain began to fall softly again. The sound reminded Arif of the night they met. He thought about that alley. He thought about how close he came to walking away. He thought about the cry that stopped him. He realized how one small choice changed everything. His life felt fuller now. Noor lifted her head and looked at him. She moved closer and rested her head on his leg. That simple gesture carried deep meaning. It was her way of saying thank you. Arif felt emotion rise in his chest. Weeks later Sammy ran across the room with energy. His leg had healed well. He played with simple toys happily. Noor watched him with calm pride. Her job was finally done. Arif laughed softly as Sammy ran past him. The sound felt new and joyful. The apartment was no longer quiet and empty. It was filled with life and warmth. Arif felt at home for the first time in years. One afternoon Arif took them to the park. The sun was bright and the air was clean. Noor walked confidently beside him. Sammy explored the grass with curiosity. People watched and smiled. Some asked about their story. Arif shared it simply and honestly. He spoke about trust and timing. He spoke about listening to the heart. Many nodded and listened quietly. Noor stayed calm among the people. She no longer feared strangers. She stayed close to Arif always. Her loyalty was strong and clear. She had found her place. As the sun began to set, Arif sat on a bench. Noor lay at his feet, and Sammy rested beside her. The sky turned orange and gold. The moment felt peaceful and complete. Arif took a deep breath. He realized the true shock was not what happened that night. The real shock was how love appeared quietly. It arrived through trust and courage. It arrived through a stray dog asking for help. It changed 3 lives forever. That night they returned home together. Noor settled into her spot calmly. Sammy slept deeply without worry. Arif turned off the lights and smiled. The journey that began in rain ended in peace.